Good. We're on. Just a refresh. Wait, I don't see it. Okay, good. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you? I surprised you.
I'm good. I'm looking forward. I'm glad we chose the subject we chose.
You chose it. I'm looking forward to dive in with you and let you take me into the realm of mutual responsibility. Just a little introduction for the people who don't know us. My name is Noah and you are Ruti. Together we are exploring and learning and experiencing every Friday morning through different topics and inside our lives as individuals and as a part of this oneness. The difference between how we got used to thinking and seeing and making conclusions on through different topics in our lives, and how we live according to these conclusions and these assumptions and these definitions, which are basically made of thoughts, words, this realm, and what it feels like, what it looks like. How would it look like if we live not from the realm of thoughts, from the realm of what we call what really is? We don't call it. It's what really is when we don't conclude, when we don't try to understand or explain, but we are. And from there we live. So our lives, like sessions, these meetings, the webinars we do, the things we write or give courses with, are walking in this motion, on this flow, looking at how we got used to seeing things and diving back into what really is, then looking again. And yesterday you said in our webinar, this is the human condition, or at least was and is at the moment, this motion. So this is where we want to speak from, and this is where we invite you to listen from. Anything you'd like to add?
No, it's good.
All right, then let's dive into the topic of today, mutual responsibility. Super, super relevant these days with Corona already more than a year, that we are learning on our flesh in so many ways what it means, mutual responsibility. This is where it takes me to. But I give you the spot, and I want you to take us in.
Don't you want to start with the definition?
Oh yes, I do. So just to have some ground to stand on, definition to stand on, I'm going to read the definition of responsibility in Google. It's not even Wikipedia, it's just responsibility, Google, noun. The state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or of having control over someone. For example, a true leader takes responsibility for their team and helps them achieve goals. That's responsibility. Now, if you want, I can extend to Wikipedia social responsibility. That's what I found. Shall I?
Yeah.
Okay. Social responsibility in Wikipedia. Social responsibility is an ethical framework and suggests that an individual has an obligation to work and cooperate with other individuals and organizations for the benefit of society at large. One more sentence. Social responsibility is a duty every individual has to perform so as to maintain a balance between the economy and the ecosystem.
Okay. So maybe we start with the question of the meaning of responsibility as we understood that up till now, up till we look at it again and rephrase or understand anew. First of all, the word responsibility is very much attached to blame, guilt. When we say I take responsibility, we usually say I am to blame. I did something wrong, and this is the way that I'm acknowledging this. Another way of saying it is saying, another way of approaching responsibility is saying I have the power to do something if I do it correctly according to certain measurements, and as long as when I start off, I know that I am able to succeed. Okay? So actually, that is the meaning of responsibility. It's a burden. It needs to be carried, and usually with effort and with a price. And it needs to be fulfilled in a way that is agreed upon others. I cannot be responsible within my own measurements, usually. That's the way we approach things.
Yeah.
When we say responsibility, we mean actually that it's something agreed upon.
Yeah, we need to stand to certain standards in order to fulfill the goal or the mission that we took responsibility for.
Right. So actually, it's a place where we hold on to the opinion that there is one reality and there is one way to do that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And these are agreed upon. Anything other than that is irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
A man or a woman is judged by their ability to act responsibly. And if they don't, then they're usually condemned or taken out of society or out of a job because they did not perform well, okay? It's as if I would say that there's only one kind of music in the world. Okay? It's like there's only one, one note or one,
skate. No, that's how you call it.
It's like when you have this
Octava.
Octava. It's like it's it's a certain width of sound of notes that is the correct one. For example, Eastern music works on a very different scale. Okay, so actually it sounds to some people as out of tune or not really music or not cultural or whatever we say, because when we address the question of responsibility, we unnoticeably usually have these basic assumptions, these scales that we measure by, that are the reason why or how we measure responsibility. So, for example, you can come out of a show and say, wow, that was a really good show. Doesn't mean much. okay? Because you did actually say nothing. You said that you had a good time. That may be, of course, and I'm glad for you. But besides that, when we say this, we say this is a really good show, we presume that we agree upon the measurements, we agree upon what is a good show. And then when we say that, we all understand what we're talking about. But that's irresponsible. It looks like I was responsible now. I commented, I gave feedback. But actually it's not. It's irresponsible because I'm walking blind in the world. Okay, I see only one thing or a very narrow field of sight and not the real thing. So when we say responsibility and we want to look at the interpretation anew, actually what we're asked to do is to look at what really is, at the way things really are by nature. Okay? So we know a few things. One is that reality as it is a mystery. Meaning I see forms and shapes. I see relationships between forms and shapes like I do. It's a form of relationship between shapes. Okay?
Yeah.
And these are things agreed upon, and there are moral rules that we're expected to live accordingly. But that's it. It's an agreed upon thing.
Yeah.
If I understand that reality in its true nature is a mystery, I won't go to rules of the game. I won't go to these measurements to act responsibly.
Yeah. Or I will look at them, but I won't think that they are what really is or the only thing that is.
Yeah. And that's why also I would really want to ask myself whether I want to pay much attention to them. Because, for example, if I'm a nurse and I'm treating a corona virus patient, and this patient is having difficulty breathing, what I was taught is to help him breathe. If I do that, that might be the cause for deterioration and then also making it necessary for him to be dependent for a long time on
The machine.
machine. I did what is considered to be responsible because the knowledge that we had up till a certain point with the coronavirus was that you need to support breathing when a person has difficulty breathing. But what we found out is that that's exactly what you should try to prevent as long as you can. So acting responsibly when I believe that I see what needs to be seen and I know what needs to be known is actually not only not so responsible, in many cases it is irresponsible in a very crucial way.
Yeah.
Okay. So one is mystery. So if I understand that life is mystery and reality is not the shapes and forms we see, it is a kind of an expression of what really is, these shapes and forms and logic and conclusion making and so on, but it's not the way that it is, then I would approach things with more humility, more airiness.
Yeah.
I would not come not stiff and not intense.
Yeah.
The particles would be more wave-like and not concrete things. If I come to see things as a mystery, reality as a mystery, I would ask more questions. I would challenge my basic assumptions. I would collaborate with people so that they can challenge me. They can see anew. They can say, well, why do you do that? I would share my knowledge. I would not keep my inventions or my research results to myself just to gain prestige or something desired by me, but actually I would share. So if I understand that mystery is what reality is, it is run by a logic we don't understand. It has shapes and forms which we can know something about. We can appreciate them, we can work with them, but they are not predictable as we think. And they are much, and the thing itself is much more potent and with magic and with an infinite number of possibilities if we approach this as mystery. That's one thing. The second thing is that when we approach responsibility, we want to understand that being responsible is not looking ahead, thinking I can predict, and then asking myself what I should do in order to get there. But being responsible is complying, taking the challenge that the nature of things asks me to do.
I just realized that responsibility comes from response.
Right.
That's yeah.
It's not a passive response. It's like becoming a parent.
No, it's engaging. If something happens to you, respond. There's a response back, a response. It's like acting is reacting. They studied this in acting school.
So when we really understand that when we cannot predict, but we can listen to what is asked of us today, then I would listen again, more airy, very open, and with different lenses, if I may say, if I may call it that. Different lenses, different rhythms, different tunes. I would be different tunes. I would change. I would look. I would sense. I would rest. I would look again, so that I'm really more able to experience the abundance of what's there, the diversity of what's there, and the mystery of what's there.
Yeah, it's playful.
Yeah.
Playful.
Right. So when I'm playful, but not taking it as a game, but taking it as then I become important, because I become the thing that on me the game plays. Like I'm not just a player. The game itself, the playing itself is happening in me.
Through me, yeah. Yeah.
So that when I listen that way, I can really grasp what is asked of us today. And sometimes it's very different and even opposite of what the mind is telling us, what responsibility, what our regular sense of responsibility is telling us. For example, if I continue with the coronavirus, I would say there are things that we were taught, but you need to know that you can breathe even if you feel that you can't. I would help you realize that. You can count on me that we'll find a way. Okay? It's not being passive. It's understanding that I'm called to do something very different. And for that, I also need in myself to come to terms with things, or to allow myself to experience experiences which I may have maybe I didn't let myself, and maybe I really intentionally did not want to reach that point, okay, where I need to make this quantum leap and say to someone, you can breathe even if you don't know that you can, okay? It's a big responsibility. But if the other possibility is to make him dependent on a machine and then suffer the consequences, then I might find myself in a situation that is very responsible. I still will be asking questions, will be monitoring the level of oxygen. I will continue to be very aware, but I will not come from the predispositions I'm used to come from, and not from my expectation of myself to know definitely what I'm going to do until, and unless I know this, I won't be doing that.
It makes me, I see now that I think that often we prefer to have the package, to know what is the responsible thing to do, and then I do it. Not only because then I'm not the one to blame, maybe because I did what I was told, or what I knew, what I was taught. But it also, now when you described it, what it actually means is that I needed to be responsible all the time. I never stop, because I never stop listening and I never stop responding, and reality responds back and I need to respond back. It's like, what, 100% 24/7 being responsible to everything that happens to me. Of course, in essential cases like with coronavirus, but constantly when I'm driving, when I'm cooking, when I'm taking the shower, I don't know, whatever, when I'm fighting with my boyfriend, when I'm making love with my boyfriend, it's like constantly I need to be in this flow of being responsible. And it takes me back to the beginning when we said that for us, being responsible is a burden. So this is like, how can you live like this? The mind will ask.
Right. So that leads me to the third basic assumption. But it's good that you said that, because the burden comes from separatedness. The burden comes from saying, I'm here, I need to get there, I need to close the gap, I need to know how. Again, every sentence of that sort becomes another stone, another weight that I carry.
Because it's like I have a goal, like in the definition, because if I have a goal, I have a gap. I'm not there yet.
Right.
Unlike what you said in the before, that it's a flow. In a flow, you don't have a goal because you're in the now and the now and the now. And that's the mystery.
Right. But I don't have a goal, but I do have the essence that I am committed to.
For example, like with the coronavirus.
So I'm committed to do everything within my power. That's the Hippocrates vow. I'm committed to do everything within my power to bring health to whomever is in need. So I am working out of conviction, out of something greater than me, which inspires me. But I'm not approaching this as a goal needs to be met so that I fail if I don't, and that there's only one measurement for that, okay? For example, in Italy, in Milano, they had to choose whom to give the machine, the respiration machine. It's something that no one ever wants to be confronted with. Yes, it's almost inhumane to ask someone to make this kind of a decision, but it was asked to be made. Yeah, in wars, you're asked to make these choices. And when you look at them and you ask, so what is responsible? So if I look at the eyes of a family of an old person and I say to them, I cannot do that. There is a girl, 24 years old, and she needs the machine, and I need to choose. Am I always irresponsible by saying this? Am I always inhumane making this choice? Am I always supposed to be measured for success or for morality by if someone died on my shift, then I failed? Is that the right way to look? If we go to the conventional way of seeing responsibility, we might be looking at that, okay? Or for example, there was a time when there is a set of measurements which countries in the West measure themselves by. It's not unanimous, but it's close. One of the things that was introduced only a few years ago was the feeling of justification and the feeling of the people that the way we live and what we do is right. It's not only correct, it's the right thing to do. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, in the old days, not very long ago, this was considered irrelevant. You wanted to build a country with, an army that's strong enough, with resources that can make everyone prosper. What does that have to do with anything? Okay. Yeah. Then you realize that it has a lot to do, because when you ask people, for example, in the Second World War, in England, when you ask people to risk absolutely everything in order to do something that you are asked to do, and that if you don't do, you cannot look yourself in the eye and say, I am a human being. Yeah, that's a really big thing to ask.
Yeah, it's acknowledging the human spirit. It's acknowledging that what we feel matters.
What we feel, what we know from our inner knowing.
Yeah.
Exactly. That we are spirit.
That we are spirit, exactly. That we don't only need an army and food.
Yeah.
There's another aspect of us, and it matters.
Right. So if we take all of what we said up till now and we attach it to mutual responsibility, then what are we actually saying? So again, I go to the old way of seeing things, which is still, it exists a lot. It's actually the first thing that comes to mind. Then the way we're used to understand mutual responsibility.
And sorry, by the way, probably we say the old way of understanding responsibility. This is probably even a new way to look at it for people who are in a certain age. Like 100 years ago, the definition of responsibility was different, not mentioning hundreds of years ago what was considered to be responsible.
Right.
So this is also just to, old, like it's relative.
Right. That's the beauty of human beings.
Yeah.
So when we come to see what mutual responsibility is, actually what we see, what we're used to look at is two parties or two entities or more that need now to look at each other and to act like out of a pact, out of a covenant, out of an mutual understanding. It's like a contract that's wider than a business contract, I think. And what it says is, I guarantee you that your well-being, sometimes your prosperity, sometimes your peace of mind, your security, in different levels is covered by me. I'm there to make sure that you are secure and that you will have what we said you will have, and you will come to no harm. Okay? Mutual responsibility usually says, I guarantee you and you guarantee me. It's a pact.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what do we know that happens so many times between human beings and between countries, communities?
Things change.
Yeah.
Like, things change, things happen. This is really not something we can prevent, because that's the nature of things.
But still, why do I need to change? Why do I not live up to my promises? Why do I change partners?
Because when I made the deal, I had certain needs and certain wishes that at the time they met with my partner. Now things change. My needs have changed. My wishes have changed. And now it doesn't suit me anymore. So
right.
I quit, or I ask for negotiation. Maybe let's open the contract again. I'd say this is what like put it in simple words. That's what usually happens between partners, between countries.
Right. So let's go a bit with that. As long as I see myself as separated from you, and as long as I see the world as something I either need to conquer or to use or to defend myself from,
Mm-hmm.
then when things change, okay, when conditions are changed, when circumstances change, then I have to change. I have no choice, says the mind.
Yeah.
Okay. The mind is the imaginary. Okay, we created a mechanism that we believe shows us how things really are. But actually, it creates a parallel imaginary world in which we act. And in this world, we are separated. We are different entities, and the world is complex and needs to be, we are challenged. It's not a guaranteed happy ending.
Yeah.
Don't have everything that's needed to cope, and then we create pacts. It's like tribes. Okay, when I'm in the desert and the forces of nature are very strong, then I make a pact with another tribe or with other leaders that they would help in case of whatever. So as long as I experience myself separated and the world is something I need to cope with, when things change, I actually change in the sense that I choose different partners. I look at things differently, and therefore my conclusions are different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that I cannot keep the promises that I made, because then I'm in danger, because there's another force building up. Yeah. So, for example, China makes now the game different, right? It changes the rules of the game. It changes the powers and the way they act in the world, the basic assumptions, their agreements, everything changes. So if I see myself as separated, needing to take care of myself, confronting the world or others, then I would break my word. I would change partners. I would do things that would make the other side suffer the consequences. And I would, in the good scenario, I would say, I'm so sorry, but I cannot keep being with you anymore. In the bad scenario, or the more painful scenario, they would just leave. They would just let us or whomever suffer the consequences, and they change because they rapidly need to reach conclusions and then go on. That's why when we say mutual responsibility and we are not awakened from these basic assumptions of separatedness and danger and coping, then what we're saying is like writing on ice. It's nothing.
Yeah.
We put so much energy into agreements and into rules of the game, into agreements in the sense of whatever is good or bad, done or not, and so on. And in that sense, we put our hopes wherever it's most dangerous. So actually, mutual responsibility is something very fragile, which is in many places looked upon with cynicism, or heartbroken people who are very, they're in despair. They're not, there's no joy, there's no love. There's just like, let's manage this. Okay, so we declared this. Next day, something else will be declared. Someone was, betray us or make a pact with an enemy or our competition and so on. And that's how it would be. Because as long as we believe that we are separated, mutual responsibility is actually a thing that is either very fragile or impossible at all. These are interests, but it's not responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so I cannot really rely on that. And my heart, if it's open, then it will probably break or at least really ache, because that's not the way. Marriage is a way of trying to establish mutual responsibility. Yeah, look at the vows. I will be with you even if you're sick, even if you. It's a mutual responsibility. But once we approach this from the separatedness of things, then we'll be together until it would be too difficult for me. I want to be with you until it frightens me, or until it's too difficult for me, or until I see in your eyes that you're not happy and I don't know what to do with it, so I go away.
Yeah, this proves itself to be also like writing, not always, of course, but also like writing on ice.
Yeah. And if it's not, then it's because I feel that morally, I cannot leave you.
Yeah, then I will feel
Stuck.
guilty. I will
Exactly.
be a bad person, or
and I'm
be
stuck in a relationship that's already not working, okay, because I'm separated, so I'm not getting what I want, and I cannot give away or leave or...
then you become a prisoner.
Exactly.
You're a prisoner in your own contract, and you're fucked. You signed the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's as long as we look at ourselves as separated. Now, if we look at mutual responsibility, not from separatedness, and not from thinking that I am my needs and my fears, and that they have to be met in order for me to either survive or be prosperous. If that is not the case, then first of all, what is the case? And then what is mutual responsibility? So we talked about the mystery already, meaning that there is a higher wisdom that's natural. It's not a big guy with a beard, sitting on a cloud, but it's the something that everything evolves from, everything stems from, and everything returns to. It's the thing that gives breath to everything, that makes everything alive and gives this possibility of being alive, not only in the sense of not dying, this too, but more than that, of really being there, being really in life, with life, through life. That wisdom is what we call mystery, because it is unperceived by the mind and the senses, but we know it, we feel at home with it. And when we let go and allow ourselves to just really be, then it carries us. It is everything. So that's the one thing. And the second thing, which I think is relevant to what we're talking about, speaking about mutual responsibility, is that we are one. And when I say one, I mean not like a puzzle. Every part fits another part. What I mean is that we are one. From there, there's an infinite number of possibilities, shapes, forms, motion, but we are one. It's like one fabric. It's not made of separate particles. It's the one. And when we understand that, I want to note that usually we don't, and we can't even imagine that's the way that it is. And that's why we don't address these questions. But if I know that I am one with everything, then actually, how would I go about it when I look at mutual responsibility? So I think the first thing that I would say is that I would acknowledge that I can know, really know, what is asked of us, what time has come, and I would responsibly end whatever is not relevant anymore, and I would begin with what time has come. And when I allow myself to do that, I'm actually doing the responsible thing for the fabric on the whole. Because I'm listening to the times, to whatever is now appropriate, to whatever is asked of us now. I am not listening to what I think she needs or he wants. That's the separatedness. I'm not saying, okay, so that's the first thing. I listen to the thing that is asked of us. There was a nice article, I think it was in the New York Times, about Biden's speech in the Congress. He, in 100 days, did so many things that nobody, even the optimistic ones, did not dream that he would do. He made things that would look impossible happen. And I read the article, and not only did I read the facts, but I read this deep feeling of gratitude for someone who listens, and very, very quietly, actually, with very, on the one hand, very sharp and very loving and very, with much expertise, make the plan, get the job done. And on the other hand, so openly speaking about things, so sharing with things, and saying, I am taking responsibility, which I know that we can take together. I'm taking on a responsibility that's much greater than I want to take the kind of responsibility that we know that for the moment, I'm not sure that I know how. But if I do that, then you and I will rise to the challenge.
Yeah, and the way will show us the way. Like, but we're saying yes, okay? We're taking the responsibility. We're 100% engaged in what the time has come and what we need to do to fulfill it, to manifest it. And that's basically what responsibility is, huh?
Right. And I'm taking the most prestigious experts, people who I know are honest, people who I know they come with conviction. I set the rules of the game. I do set goals.
Yeah, so it's not enough just to say I'm 100% engaged, because it's like to say, hey, I'm going to do my best. So you can say it like this. Yeah, I can't promise. I'm going to do my best. That's also a way of taking responsibility, but you can say it like that, like the way I said it. I'm coming, but no, even not but. I'm coming and I'm going to do my best. But what it means, what does it actually mean to do your best?
Yes, exactly. So actually, when I listen to what's needed, not in the sense of how to fix, but what would make the difference, what would be a blessing for all, what would serve the higher cause and the higher good of everyone. I listen to that with no reluctance, no compromise, really strong, very sharp on the one hand. On the other hand, I know that there's the mystery. There is a higher wisdom that runs everything. I want to be attentive to it. So I come humbly.
Yeah, it's so confusing because on one hand, you need to be super sharp, but you also need to be, like you said before, airy. Yeah. So you want to know that you don't know, but you also want to know that you know.
Right.
Not and exactly your knowing.
Right. So that's why what Biden did by putting this much higher goal, which is attainable only if I come from a different dimension, from a new dimension. I cannot reach these breakthrough results from the old way of thinking, from the old way of doing things. I need to, it's not even evolve. It's like making this quantum leap. Yeah. That must be there to restore confidence, to restore integrity, to restore
creativity.
And being normal. It's like you become again a human being, not a distorted, competitive, lying, deceitful character. So if I go with the three of those, those three, one is mystery, one is that I know that I need to set goals that would make me have to rise above something, okay? And the third one is listening to what time has come, knowing that I am one, knowing that I would say, that's what you call now, I do know something. Yeah. I know, and I have to work with what I know. Now, this knowing is actually two different kinds of knowing. The one thing is that I know that, for example, there must be a way to vaccinate people and not leave them vulnerable. Okay, that's if you believe in the vaccinations. So as a country, I need to find a way. I don't have one yet, so I'll find a way. But that the mutual responsibility is, I gave you my word and I'm one with you. There is no option in my there's no option for me in my vocabulary, in my ways of thinking, that I would let you down. And actually, what happens there is that love begins to be the motive of everything and not fear.
Yeah,
When we come from separatedness, we come out of fear. When we come out of this, out of love, out of oneness, then love is what makes it possible. Okay, because it's this mutual responsibility. It's I know that I'm one with you. I'm not measuring what you did to me or did not do to me.
This is the quantum leap, actually. This is the quantum leap. This giving myself to love. And that's really, really scary, because you don't really know what it means. But at some point, I think also between a person and themselves, like, you also reach these points with yourself when you say, okay, it's something like the time has come. I reached a certain age, level of consciousness, a financial state. I reached a point where I have to give myself over and let go of what I was. And I give myself love, please show me the way. I'm yours.
The love and the mystery.
Yeah.
That's why there is a very beautiful interpretation of the word mystery, it has a Greek origin. And it says the combination or the encounter of the human step and grace. Okay? Because grace comes from the mystery. It comes from the openness. It's not only an open heart, although it is an open heart, but it is this, what we call airy. It's, I know that I am not the thing that I've grown to believe that I am, and that the world is not the thing that I've grown to believe that it is. So when I love and I say yes, then when I encounter the world, I acknowledge, or I'm present, I'm in presence to grace as it shows itself to me. And the way it shows itself to me is the amount or the way that I open myself up to.
That I make a step.
I make the step, not thinking that I am making the step. It is, I am complying to the calling that I heard. And when I comply to it, and I open myself to it, and I give myself over, then grace can come.
It reminds me, I met a friend of a friend a few nights ago, and he became a father like a year ago or something. And he expressed it so exactly what you're saying. He was like, I was a certain person. I had my partner. I had my lifestyle. She had her lifestyle. We were two people living together. I had my things. She had her things. She wanted much money. I wanted less money. Like, okay. And then they had their daughter. And he said, goodbye, myself. I am cold. And he said it wasn't even, you can't even call it a choice. It was like, he said it was just, there was no question. I'm cold. And love shows him the way. Now it's making more money. Now it's making more time. Now it's changing the house. Now is the way he communicates with his partner. Like you like you say, that there's a time. What's time has come.
Exactly.
And you respond responsibly.
Yeah. So the responsibility, if we take it from here, you can see that if you come from separatedness to parenthood, for example, then you would be very concerned with what you lost, what you cannot have anymore, the difficulties, the strain, the sometimes guilt that comes with it. Am I good enough? Am I doing the responsible thing? Am I, yeah? It's tough.
Yeah.
When I come from oneness, it's not that I won't have any of those. Of course I would, but I would because I'm not only there. But if I come from oneness, then I know that I am the mother of this child because I am the mother of this child. And that leaves me, the only one that's there, the mother of this child. I am the only mother that this child has. I am the mother of this child, meaning I have in me what's needed. And now my responsibility is to be present enough in the mystery and letting love show the way. In the mystery means that I would expect things of me, that I would not just say, so whatever, if he cries and I don't feel like getting up, I won't get up, okay?
Yeah.
The expectation doesn't come from separatedness. It comes from listening to motherhood. Now, how would I know how to be? Yeah, if I never was a mother before, I know. If I ask this question, I know.
It reminds me of the nurse, because at the moment, okay, you can talk a lot about having children and the decision of having children and the choice of having children. Okay, let's say you made the choice. And okay, let's say that the nurse made the choice of being a nurse. And now she is the nurse. And this is the patient. And this is the same relationships as the mother and the child, because it is like that. Why am I his nurse? Because that's what it's like now. And it takes me to think of situations that you didn't choose. And now it is like that. It's on your path. You chose it, you didn't choose it. You are the person here now. And often we just want to get away and walk away and like detach ourselves. What would it look like if we will treat every situation as if we are the mothers or the nurses or the fathers, just because, like you say, because we're one. Yeah. This is not a question of choice. This is not a question of privilege. Like,
right. And
it is like that.
And it is a great privilege. But it's not a privilege in the way that you deserve this more than others or that you won the lottery. But it's because it is a privilege to be alive. And it is a privilege to be asked and to be called. And if we know that we are one and we listen from there, then there's grace.
It's very inspiring. I like finishing like this because I also want to remind ourselves and whoever is listening to us, this is not a conclusion, and this is not a tool, and this is not a method. That's why I'm saying it's very inspiring, and I want to let it inspire me and provoke questions in me and maybe even disturb me a little. And not to draw a conclusion about this.
Yeah.
Because life is not a structure. Like immediately I want to make it like a method. Okay. But no, let's let it stay in us, and our wisdom will find what to do with this and how. Just like let it be music in our ears when we walk life.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful weekend or week or day or life whenever you're looking at us. And you're very welcome to comment and keep in touch. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.